Hello and welcome back to my channel. Thanks for checking out today's video. I guess I want to start out by saying the title is true. You can kind of assume I quit my job without a backup plan. I really want to share a little bit more about how that happened, the background behind it, and I guess what I'm planning to do now and the plans that I made to get to this point where I made a plan. I'm going to back up a little bit and start with a little bit of background on what my job was. So I did healthcare marketing. I worked for a PR agency specifically within the healthcare space. What that means is we did PR and marketing for the major drug companies of the world and marketed to doctors, a little bit of general public, patient, caregiver, but mostly we targeted doctors at medical meetings and things like that. It's not as fun as other PR might be. We didn't get to, well, some people in the company did. I didn't really get to work with specific influencers or really do any big events or anything like that. Specifically, I worked in paid media, which is more the marketing side of things. It wasn't PR as much. I was responsible for ads on LinkedIn, Facebook/Instagram, a little bit of TikTok, which was a little bit of fun toward the end of this job. Anyway, all that to say, that's what I was doing. It was never really my long-term goal. I think when I got into the PR world, agency world, I went to school for PR. I initially envisioned myself being a girl boss around New York, throwing together all these events and talking to celebrities and interviewing people and trying to make things like look good. And that's just not really the path I wound up going down in PR. Again, wound up at a healthcare agency, and there was a period of time between my internship and actually the job that I had last, which I had for about 3 years. There was a period of time where I did try to transition into a different kind of PR, but it didn't really pan out. I mean, if you want to be in fashion or beauty or anything like that, they really do look for initial experience in fashion and beauty, and I just didn't have that. I kind of got trapped in healthcare. If it really is your true passion and you want to transition into those things, I'm sure that there is a feasible path for it. But after a while, I kind of realized that it wasn't my long-term goal. Even in college, when I was graduating with it, I think I knew it wasn't my long-term goal to do that industry. I think it was something that I wanted to do until I figured out an avenue to owning my own business. I have always wanted to own my own business. I took so many entrepreneurship classes in high school. I was always doing some sort of business ownership or project. When I was in middle school, high school, I started like a sitting service for like kids, pets, house plants, printed out flyers, distributed them around the neighborhood, tried to get other people to work within my sitting service, and it was just this whole thing. I also always was trying to create some sort of product or another and sell those products. I don't know how, but that kind of fell off as I went into college and started thinking like, oh, I have to follow this traditional path, and well, that's not a traditional path at all, and oh, security is this way, so I'm trying to follow this security route. I got kind of, I don't want to say brainwashed, but I almost feel like I got brainwashed in college just because I fell into this trap of everyone's talking about this is the next step, this is the next step. So I was just like, oh, yeah, I need to follow this next step. Like, this is the path that's laid out for me. My vision started looking completely different than I think what I had initially wanted for myself. And the lines got blurred. I became content with following that path. I also, going through so many other things in college, wasn't really the right time, I think, for me to even have on my radar what kind of business that I would start or have that inner determination. I was like, well, what business am I going to create? Like, I can't just invent a product. I don't know what service I would possibly do. I don't want to be a service-based industry because there's no real return. It's still a matter of like working for time, like your time is what you're making money for. I kind of knew like, service industry isn't what I want. Little did I know at that time that anything can really be an entrepreneurship journey. Like, I could just do something, anything that I loved and find a way to make money from it. Long story short, I did not realize that potential in college. Always assumed I'd figure it out later. COVID came and I realized later is now. I happened to get a new job at a different agency right in 2020 in the brink of COVID. I was like, great, this will hold me over for a little bit. I will be able to make some money, develop a career, and like a little bit later, I can actually pursue what I want to do. As I kind of grew, about, I would say like late 2021, early 2022, I kind of started actually seeing the bigger picture and what I really wanted. I was like, okay, later is now. Like later is right now. I know what I want. I'm going to find a way to get there and I'm going to work for it. My plan was to long-term, like however long it took, side hustle on top of my job. You know, they always say, don't quit your day job until your side hustle is making twice as much money. I always thought that was a little bit stupid because like, why does it need to make twice as much? I don't know. And the big thing, which I'm gonna get more into, is like, if you really wanna own a business, that business is your baby. It takes up all of your time. It needs to be like what you eat, breathe, sleep, dream of. There is not in my brain like a feasible way that you could untap your whole potential to double your salary, whatever your salary is, just by working on it as a side hustle. Like you need to be working on that business at least 40 hours a week, which on top of a 9-to-5, especially in healthcare PR, is not always feasible. That brings me into why I left my job. Still, a long-term goal was to at least be making some sort of money on the side before I quit my job. We're gonna rewind to October of last year. I was crying a lot. I was tired of the overtime in an industry I didn't want to be in, burnt out. My team was structured in a really unique way in that it was me and at the time 3 other VPs above me, and so everything just kind of got delegated to me, along with trying to like be a go-getter and start my own projects and just being the perfectionist that I am. It was a lot. I was working overtime. I was working to like 120% efficiency. Like I know some people think remote work is lounging around at home and sending an email and then relaxing. No. I was operating like on like I had to develop my own kind of adrenaline 24/7. I was like, this next, knocking it out, respond to email, knock it out. It was a lot. I found myself drained and I was like, I've got to get out of this industry. I want to quit. I can't see myself making it in what I want to make it in until I like have to. End of 2022, I was saying by the end of 2023, I do not want to be at this job anymore. On Valentine's Day this year, things really came to a head with my job. I had casual plans, nothing crazy, to just go to a nice restaurant that's across the street from Reed and I in Miami, and I was really excited to spend a nice Valentine's Day with him because I had just been working so much, and when I wasn't working, I was trying to work on social media. I was really looking forward to the quality time with my boyfriend, and it was Valentine's Day, and it's just nice to spend Valentine's Day with your boyfriend. Things were not working out in my favor for that. I got held late that day. There was something urgent that came up. I wound up on a call, and I think it was like 7 p.m. I was on this call, and I had logged on early that day too. Like there were a lot of days I was logging on early. On this call at 7 p.m. and I was just like, why am I on a call on 7 p.m. on Valentine's Day when I have plans? I did my job. I did more than my job, and quite frankly, I don't think I was being paid enough to compensate like all the overtime I was doing. Continued through all the urgent stuff, finished all the work. I got everything out that needed to go out by like 8:30 p.m. And my boyfriend, who was waiting so patiently for me, wound up talking to the restaurant about our reservation. He got everything fixed and we were able to go at 9 p.m. for our dinner reservation. I was starving at that point. That's just kind of when things came to a head, and I was like, I can't do this. And he was like, I don't want you to do this anymore either. Like, you can't do this. It's not good for your health. And we came up with a plan together that Valentine's Day night for me to quit by the spring. I said by my birthday. That didn't exactly happen. There were a lot more things that I wanted to pay off, and it just kept getting pushed back later and later, and it was never like a good time for the company, and it was not really ever a good time for me. Like, there was a little bit more money that I wanted to make before leaving and set myself up well before leaving. Over the several months after that, there were some other things that just really reinforced that I could not stay in this job. Don't get me wrong, I had cried a lot in this job historically, but this year was unreal. Like, I think I cried almost every day from this job. It was like a mix of stress breakdowns, the disappointment that I couldn't do the things that bring me joy and the things that fulfill me. Like, making these videos makes me so happy. I love it. It's my craft. It's so fun. I love putting it together and editing and just like seeing my work online. Like, I get so proud and happy and I feel so fulfilled being creative, and I didn't have the time to do those things. And so I was either stress crying or crying because I couldn't do the things that fulfilled me. I experienced a lot of depression that I don't think I knew I had when it was happening. To take you through a day in my life, I basically would wake up, I'd get my workout in because that was my non-negotiable. I'd be like, I'm getting my workout in. I need to feel good. I cannot deliver work to you if I do not get my workout in. So I woke up early, like 6-ish, got my workout in. More often than not, would sit down at like 8 to start work when work was supposed to start at 9. Then I'd be locked into the computer, can't move until 7 or 8 at night. It was to the point where it was like hard for me to get water. Luckily, my boyfriend was working from home at the time. He would refill my water, he'd put it by my desk, and I'd have water to drink. And he also was amazing, an angel. He made sure that I always had lunch, but I was unable to do literally anything else during those hours. Now, I'm not saying that every day was like necessarily a 12-hour day, but a lot of them were. Not every day was that bad. There were some breaks. The issue, more so than the long days, was the unpredictability. Anytime I would be like, I was working toward my personal training certification because that was my way out of this job, or I'm gonna work on social media, something would pop up for work and I couldn't abide by the schedule that I had set for myself. So it was just absolutely impossible to come up with any sort of plan and then follow through on that plan when constantly every day something urgent is happening with my job. That's not necessarily true in all PR. I know a lot of people that have done PR can relate. Generally, you'll have like 3 or 4 accounts and it's kind of manageable, and like 3 or 4 accounts, something's urgent every once in a while. The way that my team was structured and the way that I was kind of like more of a specialist, I was across 10 plus, sometimes reaching 20 accounts at any given time. And so when you're on 20 different things, there's always going to be one with something urgent going on. Sometimes you can close your laptop and just be like, goodbye, not when it's something urgent. And when you have 20 accounts, something urgent is always going on. So you can't ever just be like, goodbye. I couldn't realistically sustain any sort of side hustle on top of that. Like, it was just not going to happen. It was affecting my relationship because I had no energy. I was so irritable. Oh, going back to the depression, I don't think I actually talked about what happened with the depression. Inside, I just felt drained. And it got worse as the year went on. Like, I really kept having to dig deeper and deeper and deeper. And toward the last few months, it felt like I had reached the bottom. I had reached the empty. I was like, I don't know where to dig from. It just felt like I was moving in slow motion. Like, where do I get this energy from? And I just felt empty. It was a mix of, I think, burnout and overstress, but also not being able to fulfill my own cup and meet my needs because I didn't have good relationships with my friends. Like, my friends are amazing and they're always going to be there for me, but I didn't have the time to be a good friend to them. I was always so drained of energy. I really wasn't able to invest in my relationship either. My apartment got out of control. There were a lot of weekends that I wound up like cleaning up and just trying to sustain a state where I could work throughout the week without feeling like, oh my gosh, my apartment is falling apart. It still wasn't enough, and my apartment was still like kind of getting out of hand. It wasn't as bad in the early spring, but it started getting really bad over the last few months. I really had to cut back YouTube. It had to go on the back burner, and I love YouTube. This is the platform that I want to be the most active on, but unfortunately I could only focus on one, and TikTok took up a little bit less time. So the little fragments of time that I had to invest in being creative and making videos, I had to put into TikTok. And it was just so overwhelming. If I happened to have a long weekend, or there were times that I took off to work on the things that I was trying to do on the side, I wasn't just taking vacation and chilling. I was working just on the things that I wanted to move forward on. The first day, even into the second day after you have off work, so like Saturday, Sunday, you're still kind of in a fog. You're still like in the work mindset. You don't fully let go of it. If I had that third day, even if I was just working on my other things, I'd be like, what is this sense of happiness? What is this little light I feel inside of me? And I was like, oh, that's not like a special happiness. I was just depressed before, and I like would feel that void that I had filling back up. I would get my personality back toward that third day. Even more if it was like a fourth or fifth day, like I would get even more personality back. And I'm like, I forgot that I used to be fun. I forgot that I used to laugh. I forgot that this used to be a good quality of mine. And it's just like, oh wow, like I have a personality. And that's just so sad. That is so sad. Like all of the emotion that I'm expressing in this video, it couldn't have happened. You could probably even look back on some of my older videos and I probably was talking in a very deadpan voice because I just had nothing left to give. I also did kind of have a little bit of weekend work with this job sometimes. Not too bad. I will say that's the one thing they were pretty good about. I would work 12 hours a day, 5 days a week, but better believe I had those weekends. There were some things that did wind up pouring over into the weekends, but I will give them the credit that it wasn't that bad. If this is your passion, like if this was my long-term job, I don't think I would hate pouring in those hours, but for me, it was the fact that I didn't want to do this long-term and I wanted to work on my side hustles, and this isn't the kind of work that I want to be doing. I could not put in those hours. I will want to put in those hours for my next steps, which I'm going to get into. I do want to take a second to rewind and say there are a lot of things I'm grateful about with my job. The people that I worked with, really great, and part of the reason that it took me so long to leave was that I didn't want to just leave them because they were also struggling, and I didn't want to just leave them hanging. The actual company itself was really great to their employees. Like it was a great place to be. If I wanted to be in this industry, that is probably where I would want to stay and where I would want to be. I am very happy for the job that I had, and I'm very happy that they took a chance on me during 2020 COVID when a lot of people were left without jobs. They really did help me build a skill set that I needed to even get where I am today. I also developed under my manager great knowledge of marketing that I wouldn't have had and will really come in handy in these next steps. I am very grateful for the job, I'm grateful for the company, and I'm grateful for the people. It just wasn't for me. The process of actually quitting was really difficult. So again, I mentioned that I wanted to quit in April. That would have been more of quitting without even a semblance of a plan. That would have been like really like quit, throw yourself off a ledge and figure it out. I held on to it a bit longer. It gives me a little bit more time to get my personal training certification, and that way I can have it when I actually do quit. August came and I was nowhere near getting my personal training certification. There was no way to do that. This industry does tend to slow down in July, but not for me this year. Things were even crazier than me. Like basically you can picture February and March being absolute hell, and then it just gets worse each month. And like you think that the next month is gonna be better, and then it was worse and worse and worse. I kind of spontaneously was like, nope, this is my time. Like I had a gut instinct. This moment is it. It's silly. It wound up being the paycheck before my raise would have come, and I was due for a big time raise, like a big time raise. And I quit before I would be paid for the holidays, but I just knew, like I knew something was telling me that that was the moment that I needed to quit. I put in my 2 weeks. That was technically a month. Like I gave them a month notice, but it wound up turning into 6.5 weeks. I told them I was pretty flexible considering I was like, I'll take another paycheck. But at that point, like they knew I was quitting, so I was not going to be held to the standard of perfectionism. And I was able to spend those 6 weeks really immersing myself in my personal training certification so that I had something to land on after leaving my job. Last day of my job was November 15th, and I had my personal training certification test. Like I put it the exact last day that I could take it, which was November 20th, those 5 days. I was in my book morning to night, 9 to 9. I passed the test. Yay! Now my plan is to just figure it out, honestly. I want to teach at some sort of group fitness studio around Miami. I think it'd be really fun. I want to just like form a little bit of a community since I've kind of been isolated working this job since I got to Miami, and I haven't really developed any sort of life outside this apartment here. I think teaching group classes would be a really fun way to make some supplemental income, do what I love, get some expertise within fitness world, and make some friends. That's like my supplemental plan. I'm kind of working on finding a job for that now. I do have a lead that I don't want to speak on too soon. This is my top choice, and I really, really hope it pans out. I also want to do online coaching. Like I want to open up a path with that, but there's a few different things I got to do there. So that's more entrepreneurial side. I'm going to do like online coaching. Eventually I want to develop my own fitness app, and I know there's a lot of fitness apps out there. I have some ideas to make mine a little bit more unique. So that is a longer term goal that's going to kind of be a work in progress over the next couple of months as I'm also finding a job in the fitness industry. I'm also just going to continue creating content. Like, I'm going to be so real. I have no specific expectation with content creation. I'm just kind of making YouTube videos, making TikTok. Like, of course I want to grow. Of course my ultimate goal is to grow on these platforms, but I don't necessarily know what that means. So I'm not trying to make specific things that I think other people will like, so much as I'm making things that I enjoy making, and I'm hoping that it will just work out along the way. But I don't ever want that to be my whole business, just because I do love fitness and I want to pursue things in that area. Like, I want to do this online coaching, this app, and eventually, like, would I make some products with that? Probably, as I discover like what is missing within the fitness world. I also kind of want to dip my toe in some side hustles because I am panicking a little bit about not having any income specifically. I might try out UGC. I am going to make some digital designs, might open like some merch. We'll see. Like I said, I'm just hustling. So anything and everything that I think sounds kind of fun or like a project that I really want to embark on, I am going to do it. I got my certification and then it was Thanksgiving. So I went to my family's for Thanksgiving and now it is November 27th. I've officially been a certified personal trainer for 7 days. I can't even believe it because when I passed, I was like, I passed this thing I've been stressing about for so long. I might be more proud of this than I am my college degree. That's how happy I am. I kind of dipped my toe in some research last week, but I was mostly focused on Thanksgiving and spending time with family because one of the reasons that I wanted to leave my job was so that I can spend time with what really matters, and that is my family to me and friends. That I'm really excited to make new friends in Miami and then also spend time with my existing friends back home and like really cultivate those relationships again. Today / this week is kind of day 0, week 0. Like I said, my apartment has been out of order for so long and I'm looking forward to just kind of getting it in order this week so I can give myself a good clean foundation and a good fresh start toward opening this business, seeing what is ahead for me. We'll see what next steps I take. I'm excited to bring you guys along with me as I kind of figure this out because I don't know what I'm doing. And like, technically I did quit my job without a plan. Like, I don't know when my next income will be. I'm giving myself the space to do that first because I was emptied for so long. If I do go back to a 9-to-5, this is something that I did want to touch on also. I'm not completely like, I'm done, I'm gone, like I'm so far past this chapter. Like, I do realize that not everyone succeeds. I would like to think that I will. But if I do wind up going back to a 9-to-5, if I fall flat on my face and I have nothing left and I have to suck up my pride and go back to a 9-to-5, I will happily do so, but I hope that I will be able to find something that fulfills my creative avenues a bit more and isn't necessarily in healthcare marketing. Maybe is more in-house and less client-facing so that I can clock in, clock out, and work on my personal passion projects unless the job does become my personal passion project. Or I would like a job that develops the skill sets I'm looking for a little bit more within fitness. So maybe I would work for a 9-to-5 in a fitness company. I hope that I would just be able to find something a little bit more aligned with that. A couple other things I want to mention. If you find yourself in a similar position where you're just like, I hate this job, I can't do this anymore, you gotta follow your gut to a degree. But when I was in New York, I was at this influencer event with a friend. So I was surrounded by all of these influencers and intimidating influencers who have like taken the leap and they like did these things fully making incomes for themselves off of influencing. And someone came up and asked me like, oh, what do you do? And I was like, well, I work a 9-to-5, but I'm looking to do X long term. And she's like, just do it. There's no reason to be working your job anymore. You just got to take the leap and just jump and just do it. I think her intention was there and I think it was very, very nice of her to say that, but it did stick with me because I was like, I just felt not good enough for not being able to do that for so long. Like, this was, I think, end of 2021. It's now end of 2023 that I have finally left my job, and I still don't even feel fully set up to have left my job. I padded a good amount of money and it just never feels like enough because it can go away so quickly. And I did feel very inadequate for not being able to do that, and that's just not how it is for everyone. I couldn't just, you know, quit my job. It wasn't possible. You need to follow your gut, but do it in a way that makes sense for you. If you feel like bottom of the barrel, I have nothing left to give, kind of like I did, like, maybe you do want to look into quitting sooner rather than later, even without a plan. But if you at least have some sort of plan to plan, that is what I had. And it has been a long work in progress. I'm still not even sure that it was the right time for me to do it. Like, well, I knew it was the right time, right? But like, you always have that doubt. It's a hard thing. So I don't want anyone to see this and be like, wow, she did it, so why can't I? Like, the timing is different for everyone. I wish that I weren't 28 when it happened. I'm starting from scratch in a new career, in a new field at 28. That path may look entirely different for everyone. It could be 23, it could be 33, it could be 43. I hope that this doesn't intimidate anyone, more like inspires people to dig themselves out of a situation or to find a better situation, even if it is within a traditional 9-to-5 industry. We can still glorify the 9-to-5. There are a lot of perks. Company provided health insurance, I miss already. As I'm trying to make content and develop a community, I am nervous that I won't be as relatable without my 9-to-5, and people are gonna be like, oh, just another YouTuber, social media girl. But I always do want to have these other jobs, so I'm always going to be working on things still, like actually working. My personality is to just always want some sort of project to pour into. So I don't know, I still hope you're interested in my journey, whether you're an entrepreneurial spirit or a 9-to-5er. I promise, like, I'll try to find some things to relate on still. Like, I still have that background. I still want to operate mostly on a 9-to-5 schedule. That's all my word vomit on quitting my job. I'm back and I'm gonna be making way more content, and I'm so excited to be on here making way more content, and I think my content will be stepping up a level. Hope you'll join me.